Welcome back to my channel, guys. In today's video, I have another story time for you. It's actually a mix of like a bunch of different stories, but I'm going to be talking about some of my awkward encounters, my awkward experiences with other people. So there's some with boys while I was a teenager, and then there's some with adults. There's just a big mix of things that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Some were a little on the scarier side, and then other ones were just like me being like an awkward teenager. So let's get into it. The first one was I went over to, like, with my family, I went over to my dad's best friend's house, and he also had like another friend over and their family, and it had been a while since we like saw them. And so when he saw me, this is my dad's friend's friend, he was like, "Oh my gosh, you've lost so much weight." And I was like, well, he was like, "Since the last time I saw you." And the last time that he saw me was like 2 years before that, which I wasn't like fat 2 years prior to that experience. But I was like really chubby in elementary school, and obviously like I hit puberty and then I started like shaping into myself. He was like, "No, you were like really fat when you were little, like 2 years ago." And I was like, I was chubby in elementary school, but 2 years ago, I look exactly the same. And he was like, no, like, you lost a lot of weight since the last time I saw you. And he just kept going on. And I was like, that is extremely rude. It was just very uncomfortable, and just the fact that he kept like pushing it, like, "Oh my gosh, yes, you lost all this weight." I was like, just stop while you're ahead. The next one was while we were in Myrtle Beach, and I noticed it was me and my cousin, and we were playing like this like outside checker or like chess thing or whatever, and we were doing that, and she like looked at me and she was like, "This guy has been staring at you for like forever." And I was like, okay, it's kind of weird. And then he started like walking over to us, and I was like, oh my gosh, please do not do this. And meanwhile, I'm in 8th grade. I like have never really talked to many boys in my life. And so he walks over to me and he's like, "Hey, can I get your number?" Meanwhile, I have an iPod. I have an iPod Touch. So I like literally freeze, and I'm standing there, and my cousin, she's like looking at me like, "Are you gonna say anything?" And I don't remember exactly what I said, but it ended up, so I did not give him my number because I was like, I don't really have a number. And he was like, okay, like whatever. And then later we were at the same like place. We had all like gone down to the same place, and there was like a bunch of games. There was like ping pong or whatever. And so we played ping pong like together because he was there, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I was like, "Sure." And so then he was like, "Why didn't you give me your number or whatever?" And I was like, "Well, I have an iPod." And like, I'm literally in 8th grade. I do not have a phone yet. Literally everyone else has a phone in my school, like everyone. I did end up getting a phone the summer of 8th grade, but I had an iPod, and he was like, "Okay, well, just give me like your email or whatever," because like on an iPod your iMessage is through your email. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And we just like texted through like iMessage, but it was like my email address, so I needed Wi-Fi to like text him, which was like really awkward. We don't talk at all now. We follow each other on Instagram, but like that's about it. This woman must have had like a stick up her butt or something, because we were at the beach and we were walking on the boardwalk, and I had to use the bathroom, so obviously I went into the bathroom, and I was chewing gum, and there was a trash can, so I spit my gum into the trash can, and this maintenance woman comes up and literally screams at me. She's like, "Does this look like a trash can that you can spit your gum in?" And I was like, it's literally a trash can, like, because there was one that she was like using to like clean. I guess she was putting like the dirty stuff or whatever, but there was literally trash in the trash can that I spit my gum into, and then there was also another trash can that I didn't see. And so she was like, "Next time, do not spit your gum in this trash can." And she was like extremely rude. And then there was like an open stall, and it was the handicap stall, so I went into the handicap stall because no one was handicapped like in the bathroom. And then before I can shut the door, she like literally pushes like through the door before I can lock it. And she's like, "Are you handicapped?" And I'm like, "No." And she was like, "This is a handicap stall, and if you're not handicapped, you can't use it." Which, like, doesn't make any sense. I mean, I understand if there was a handicapped person that had to use the bathroom, and if they were, like, in a wheelchair or something, but there was literally no person in there that was handicapped. And usually, if there's a stall open, if there's only one stall open and it's a handicap, people are gonna go into it. So I don't really see the issue with that, but she was just targeting me. She was putting all of her emotions out on me, and I just did not appreciate it. The next one is super, super embarrassing. So, we were at the beach. It was my friend Haley, Sage, and I. We were at the beach, and there was this really, really attractive kid, and he was older than us. I think he is 19, so he's 2 years older than us. But he was on the beach, and we were like, holy crap, like, I need his information. He was like playing a game and he needed a partner, and we were like sitting right next to us. So his mom was like, "Why don't these girls like be your partners or whatever?" So we ended up like playing this game. It was when you like throw, I don't know what the game was called. You had to like knock something over, I don't know. But we were playing or whatever, and then like he was really nice, really sweet, probably one of the most attractive people I've ever seen in my life. And so then he was like sitting in his chair, and I was like, all right, Jessica, I'm gonna make some moves. And so I go up to him, and I was like, hey, do you have Instagram? And he was like, yeah, give me a second, I'm gonna go wash off in the ocean, and then like I'll give it to you. And so he went out into the ocean, washed up or whatever, came back to his seat, sat down, and I was just like standing there, like not like next to him, but I was like standing by our blankets, like I was kind of like in a circle with our friends or whatever, because I know that like that was like the first big move that I've ever been like, hey, can I like get your information? I've never done that before. And so I was just like standing there like patiently waiting, and then it had been like 5 or 10 minutes that had passed. I've just been standing there, and then I eventually just sat down because I was like, I'm not just gonna stand here. And so he literally got up, took his stuff, and walked away. And I was like, okay. And I actually think that he thought that we were younger than we actually were, because I believe I was like 16. I'm not exactly sure. I was like 15 or 6. I think I was 16. And he was like, I heard him like talking to his mom or whatever, and they were like, yeah, they're like way too young for me or whatever, because he was 18 at the time. And so I think he thought that we were like 13 because my friend Sage, which is Haley's younger sister, was 13 at the time. So I think that he thought that all of us were 13. But yeah, it was just it was very awkward. Actually, I actually saw him again at the beach. We went down for another weekend, and he was there because I like followed him on Instagram, which is like really creepy. I like found his Instagram and like followed him or whatever. I saw on his Instagram that he was like down at the beach, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're down at the beach right now. And so I like was walking. We were at the same exact place that we were, and I literally saw him playing volleyball. And I was like, and my mom was like, he's here. And I was like, no, like I am not talking to him ever again. And so it was just like really funny, and we kind of like still joke about it because it was really funny. But in the moment I was like, dang. But it's not even like I did not want to date him or anything. I just wanted to have his Instagram so that I could like admire his attractiveness. The next one, this one was actually kind of scary. So I was with my cousin Jared at the beach. Again, it's always at the beach. Don't know why. But we were on the boardwalk, and we saw this guy, and he kept like following us, and I was like, what the heck is going on? And so then we go like into this club. It was like a teenager club. So we go into it, we're like hanging out. It was actually super boring. I will never go back to that club again. It was just not my thing. Like I literally did not know any of the music. It was all like rap music. And so we were just sitting on the couch. It was my cousin Jarrett and I, and all of a sudden my cousin's like, the kid that was following us at the boardwalk is literally standing right behind us. And I was like, okay, maybe we should leave. So before this, let me give you some context. So we were on the boardwalk, and like obviously he was following us or whatever, and then he came up to us and he was like, hey, and we were like, hi, and he was like, is this your boyfriend? And I was like, no, it's literally my cousin. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, it's my cousin. Because he thought that I was just like, I don't know why anyone would like call their boyfriend their cousin just cuz. But he was like, are you sure he's just your cousin? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, how old are you? And I was like, I don't know, I was like 16 or something. He was like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm 16. And he was like, oh crap, like never mind. And I was like, how old did you think I was? And he was like, I thought you were in college. And I was like, definitely not in college. So like, yeah. And then so after that conversation, he like continued to follow us. We were in the club. He was standing right behind us. And then I was like, Jarrett, like we need to leave. Like I do not want to be in this situation. And luckily, thank God I was with him, because if I was alone, like I don't know what would have happened, but I'm just grateful that I wasn't alone. And then so we left, and we like literally bolted out of that place. We literally speed walked out of that place, and we didn't see him after that, because I think he might have stayed, but I don't know. But yeah, it was just like really weird. The next one is so embarrassing, but luckily it was with my family, so like it's not that big of a deal. I was at my cousin Jared's house, and he has a bunch of brothers and sisters, and so they have a pool and a trampoline. So we were jumping on the trampoline, and we had like this hose that was like going through the trampoline, and we were like jumping in the water that was coming down. And so we were jumping in the water, and so all of our clothes were like completely wet. And so I was like, okay, well my clothes are already wet, so I might as well just get into the pool with my clothes on. So I did that. I was on my period, and I was wearing a pad, and so we were swimming in the pool, right? And all of a sudden, my cousin's like, why is there a big Band-Aid in the pool? I was so embarrassed, like literally so embarrassed. And my aunt, she was also on her period, so she was like, oh, maybe that's mine. Like maybe I forgot to take my pad off or whatever. And I was like, yeah, it's definitely yours. And so later I like told her that it was me and my pad, but I was just like too embarrassed to admit that it was mine. And so she was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And it's just like literally so funny, because my cousin that said, oh my gosh, why is there a big Band-Aid? He was like 7 or 8 at the time or something, and he obviously didn't know about periods or like pads or whatever. So he just thought that there was this big Band-Aid just like floating in the pool. Last but not least, this is a story about when we were on a cruise. And so my parents were like lounging out by the pool, and I kind of wanted to go back to the room to like change and get ready. And so they were lounging out, and I was going back to my room. Again, I was in 8th grade. Don't know why all of these things happen when I'm literally in 8th grade. Well, this was the summer after 8th grade, so a different time than the other ones. But I was walking back to the room, and I was going into the elevator, and this guy literally stops me before I get on the elevator, and he was probably like older than me. I definitely either late in high school or early in college, and he stopped me before I went into the elevator, and he was like, can you like come with me and like sit and we can talk for a little bit? And I was like, no. And I probably would have been like way nicer if I had experienced something like this before, but literally it was just like really weird. He was like, do you want to like come and sit with me and we can talk? And I was like, what does that even mean? Like usually they're like, hey, do you want to go get food or something? But no, he was literally like, do you want to come sit at a table and talk? And I was like, what the heck? So I was like, no. And he was like, oh, okay. And like he like walked away, obviously. And so I got in the elevator. I was like freaking out. I was like, what is going on? And the weird thing is I never saw him the rest of the cruise. Like he never went to any of the teen events, or like I never saw him at lunch. And like we're on a cruise, and yes, it is like a big cruise ship, but I saw like many people several times, and it was hard to only see someone once, because we were on a cruise for literally a week with the same exact people. And so I literally never saw him again, and it was kind of like really, really weird. I don't know if that was just a coincidence or something, but I just thought it was weird that I like never saw him again. I'm sure he was just trying to like get to know me, or like be nice, but it was it was not fun. That is all of my awkward encounters. I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time of some awkward things that happened when I was with boys or with adults, like people calling me fat or whatever. It's fine, I'm over it. But yeah, these things are just like really fun to like look back on, and it's also super fun to like talk with family members about these things and be like, oh my gosh, that was so funny, or like, oh my gosh, you were such a dork back then, because I definitely was. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a blessed day, guys.